Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. We had a long Board of Selectmen's meeting last night, but a lot of really good discussion on things. So I can't go into every little item, but of the main items, we had our architect in who was working on our island home relocation, basically, come in and give a presentation about a needs assessment that his firm has done. And it basically, we'll get it up on the website, it basically explains why the facility cannot remain where it is. It's really about half the size it needs to be compliant with current codes and regulations. We've been talking for several years now about moving it, relocating it, rebuilding it to the Sherburne Commons site. That is pretty much how we left it last night with the Board of Selectmen. And the exact location at the Sherburne Commons site is not final. And we will be discussing this more as we go forward, but it was a good presentation and a good discussion, I think. We also talked about winter parking enforcement. It will essentially be the same as last year. We'll get this up on the website as well. Some of it started already on October 1st, and some of it starts on Monday. Well, it means that there are certain types of restrictions about where you can park and for how long. So in the 2-hour zones, the timed parking districts, you can now park there all day. There's no restrictions as of October 1st. But if you're there for more than 96 hours, you are subject to being towed. So that caused another discussion about, well, what if you want to go on vacation for a couple of weeks? Could you park your car at the 2 fairgrounds parking lot? Bottom line is the board said yes to that. We need to adopt regulations to allow it, and we talked about charging a fee for that. So that's yet to come, but that's pretty much how it was left. We talked about fiscal 17 capital projects in the general fund, and there are some big ones, some little-ish ones, and none of it is final right now. The Capital Program Committee starts meeting next week about all of these projects, and then they go to the Finance Committee and then town meeting. So these projects are in all likelihood going to change. The numbers will be refined. Some things will drop out. Some things will get added. But it was an overview of what is on the list so far.
Do you want to go over any of those?
Well, I didn't bring my presentation with me, but there's a few things, like there are road repairs. We are talking about $1.5 million-ish for phase 1 of a larger downtown sidewalk, or not even necessarily downtown, a sidewalk improvement plan.
Yeah.
Starting with the lower Main Street, Easy Street area, up by the club car, onto sort of South Water-ish a little.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's difficult to walk in that area, and some of the traffic issues, there are some choke points because of traffic, because of the way the sidewalks and streets are configured. And so we're talking about improving some of that. Not all of it can be, fixed entirely, but for example, there's a choke point at Lower Broad and Easy Street, breaks into 2 lanes there, turning over to the steamship.
Sure.
But it cars parked there,
that?
it gets, well, I'm not saying we're going to do this by any means, but if we acquired an easement or a little piece of land there to cut the curb, you know what I mean? So it's rounded more. You could the turning lane could be better. It could be easier to turn there and alleviate the traffic.
You'd have to get an easement from that restaurant.
Yeah. So we may or may not have some further discussion about if we want to do that. Maybe that's not a top priority. I don't know.
Right.
So that sort of thing. What else? There's a couple of building projects. We're going to need some additional funds for design for the island home. It's all, remember, on Thursday morning, I'm kind of foggy.
Especially from last night.
That was a 4-hour meeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's going to be some capital projects at the annual. Well, some of it relates to infrastructure maintenance that has, we're getting into a routine of fixing things, repairing and maintaining our infrastructure on a much more regular basis like we should be doing, but it takes money.
Yeah.
So there was that. We had some discussion about 240B applications that we've received from the Richmond group for two developments off of Old South Road. One would be a rental housing development, one would be a home ownership development. They've both already, the sites are both approved by the state, and the town is now in a 30-day comment period. So we talked about what types of comments the board might want to make. That's not the end of it, though. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the local authority to which 40B applicants present their application, and there are parameters within which the zoning board can apply some conditions. So we talked about what those parameters are. We have a 40B kind of a training workshop coming up with a 40B expert on Tuesday, October 20th at 5 o'clock at the community room at 4 Fairgrounds Road. It's going to be a joint Board of Selectmen zoning board meeting, and the public is certainly welcome to attend if anybody wants to learn more about how 40Bs work, what the conditions can be, things like that. On the 21st is when the board will finalize its comments on these applications.
Now that 40B out there on Old South, did you have a lot of people that showed up that were opposing it?
I didn't know. No one spoke in opposition.
No one spoke. So what does that mean?
Not really.
Did they know that this is the 30-day comment period?
I don't know if they do or not. It's certainly out there that it's the 30-day comment period.
Okay.
But it wasn't nearly the crowd of people we saw for the 106 Surfside 40B,
Right,
which we are still not in the 30-day comment period for that project.
Right.
Now, special town meeting. The Richmond group is petitioning for a special town meeting for 2 zoning articles that would allow for increased density on the sites that we're talking about for the 40B. There's all of a sudden all these people walking around. I think a bus tour might have come in.
Oh, really?
Or some kind of tour group. Sorry, I get
Maybe they're
distracted very
interested in what
easily
we're
on
doing.
Thursday mornings. Maybe that would be cool. Maybe we'll have a good walk by today.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, back
So-
to business.
Special town meeting.
Special town meeting. So to make a long story short, the special town meeting is scheduled for November 9th. It's a Monday. The board will finalize the warrant at its meeting next week. The 2 articles that are really the cause of the special town meeting, my understanding generally is that if those articles are approved by a special town meeting, the 40B applications are likely not to proceed. Now, I don't want to say definitively because I'm not sure about that. This is what was discussed at the meeting last night. So
Right.
the zoning changes would allow, again, for some increased density, but also, I think, some more local control over the project. We also talked about in a very preliminary manner, because it started to get late, but it's also early on, possible warrant articles for the annual town meeting in 2016, which, remember, will be on a Saturday this year, April 2nd, I think. And we've got, all the usual articles.
One day Saturday?
Yep.
Okay.
We're back to a Saturday. Hopefully we'll get done in the
Get it
one
all
day.
done. Yep.
Which I think we did once and then we didn't do once.
All right.
Anyway, so that was discussed. At our meeting next week, we have a workshop meeting. And good thing that wasn't a moth.
Why? You
I
don't
would be
like
on
moths?
screaming down the
What?
street by now.
What? Really?
You know what?
You know what? My ex-wife is the same way. She
hate moths.
freaks about moths.
I have a phobia, Gino.
She
and
does too.
don't take advantage of it. Because I found one on my way home the other night in my car. Thank God it wasn't until I got into the driveway, because there would have been a car accident.
Seriously? You really? You got to do something about it.
Even
Have
if I'm
you thought
just
about counseling?
No, but maybe I should go, because even thinking about it right now, I'm feeling creeped out by it.
Is that the only thing? Moths? Anything else?
I don't really like clowns that much. I'm really
Clowns.
sorry about that.
Okay.
Especially creepy horror clown movies.
I've got a great clown sculpture. My mother made it. You
don't.
would love it.
I don't like them. I
It is
really,
the
really don't like them.
creepiest looking thing you ever saw. All right. Anyway, I don't
Back
want
to business again.
Back to business.
So our workshop next week will involve as I said, we're going to adopt the special town meeting warrant. We're going to have some discussion about the Highline new vessel, which has an increased capacity, but they are also retiring the traditional slow fast ferry, and what potential infrastructure impacts there might be.
Where that's going to go?
I don't know. Maybe they'll answer that next week.
Yeah.
And fast ferry connector funding. So we need to figure out, is this service going to continue for the fast ferry connector? And if so, how will it be funded? It's about a $250,000 a year expense.
Ooh.
Right now, the town kicks in a little bit, not a lot, about $25,000, and the rest of it is picked up by other contributors, including the steamship and the High Line. We've discussed, should we dedicate the ferry embarkation fee to this service, which sounds quite logical. However, since inception, that fee has been dedicated to the funding of the seasonal community service officer program, and that amount doesn't even entirely cover that program.
Oh,
so
really?
if we were going to change it around and use the embarkation fee for the fast ferry connector, then we're going to have to cut something or find more money somewhere.
What about
to fund
this
the community service
possibility?
officers?
If the people decide they don't want it, the ticket prices go down.
What ticket prices?
Well, you're saying a portion of the ticket, of a ticket that you.
Okay, no. Sorry.
All right, I'm confused.
The ferry embarkation fee, the
What does that
current
mean?
fee. Okay, that's the 50 cent per trip surcharge on your boat ticket.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 50 cents each way right now.
Right.
We're not proposing
But
necessarily
you
to
take a
change
portion
that
of that.
yet.
A portion
Okay,
of that goes to.
but that entire revenue, which is about $200,000 a year-ish, funds this other program, the Community Service Officer program.
Okay. Got
So
it.
if we decide we want to fund the Fast Ferry Connector instead,
Got it.
then we have to fund the Community Service program some
our
other
own.
way,
Got
on
it.
our own.
All right.
We've talked a little bit about increasing, don't freak out, the ferry embarkation fee. That requires special legislation. So it's not just, you vote it.
Right.
It's got to be voted at town meeting and then go to the legislature. So that could take a while. If, you know what, I really hate when people throw their cigarettes in the road, as that guy just did. That is so rude. I'm going to say something to him.
Are you really? On camera?
Not on camera. Got my eye on that guy.
Is he a local?
No, he's not a local. Looks like a contractor. I also hate when people throw their cigarettes out the window. If you're
No,
going
it's
to smoke
disgusting.
like that, why do we all
I
have to
agree.
be the recipients of your trash? Okay, off my little rant.
Back to business.
Back to business. So that's another discussion at next week's meeting about the funding of the service and continuing the service. I think people really like the service. We've talked about charging for. Right now, the Fast Ferry Connector is free. So we've talked about implementing a fare, which I personally think we should have done from day
I
one.
think so,
but
too.
the idea was to get people interested in it and using the service. But now it's time to charge for that. You don't get a free service like that really anywhere. We've also talked about charging for the parking.
All right.
There's mixed feelings about that.
You mean like
but
parking out at two?
at a two
FG.
fairgrounds, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
For long terms. So somebody-
let's say you go off island for the day, you pay $10.
Yeah,
Is that unreasonable?
But if during the winter you said you can park here for 96 hours downtown,
Yes.
right? So why would you
During
do
the
that if you
winter.
can park
Well-
in the wintertime and be close enough to walk to the boat?
Well, I guess you could do that too.
Yeah, okay.
But if you,
But
if you're
long term,
downtown, that
I'm
might
saying.
work. If you live in Sconset
Well, that's true.
or it depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah. But you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. But be careful. I don't want to harp on this, but be careful of weather things, because if we have a parking ban because of snow, don't expect your car to be where it was when you left it.
What would happen?
It'd be towed.
And then where would it go?
It would go to probably the 2FG lot right at the moment, and you'd have
And then
to.
you have to pay for the towing.
Yeah.
You have to get it back.
So if a storm is predicted, don't leave your car downtown.
Or at least have somebody to get it out of there.
Right.
Right.
At least have somebody get out of it.
All right.
Okay, so those are the things coming up at our meeting next week, and bad news about the jetties project. Now this is an Army Corps of Engineers federal government project to raise the jetties to a half-tide jetty, it's called. We're supposed to start this week or next. There's been a bid protest, evidently, by one of the bidders. So that's going to take some time to process, and it's off for several weeks.
It was supposed to start this
Now.
month, right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So that's off. Not in our control, though.
Right.
What else?
Is that it? pretty much?
Well, there's much
Anything?
more, but we'd
what
be
should
here all day.
Next week, we're back onto a weekly schedule now.
Back onto the weekly schedule as of yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So the weekly schedule is every Wednesday, except for if there's a fifth Wednesday. And in talking with the chair and vice chair last night, I think in December we are.
What is that?
What?
Not a cigarette
now
bar.
now it's branches. So, you know what? It's the registry of deeds. They're probably throwing stuff at me. I think that's really funny.
Maybe, yeah.
So I didn't mess up my hair.
Nope, it's all good.
What were we saying again?
So
The weekly meeting. So probably in December we are not going to meet on the 23rd or the 30th. So plan accordingly.
All right, that's good. Let people go off and travel for a
Yeah,
little bit.
have some holiday time. We're going to need it by then. Let me tell you, with the special town meeting and the budget and the capital. And
All right, are you? Should I keep the camera rolling while you tell that guy to not throw a cigarette butt?
well, now he's. You know what? I should have gone over and tackled him because now he's gone. I think I could have taken him too.
Okay.
He's kind of short.
Yeah.
And he looks sort of scrappy though. I don't know.
You never know.
I could have surprised him. I think I could have taken him. Maybe not.
Well, that
I don't wanna get
just
into a-
goes to show you, you know, folks. I mean, do not be throwing cigarette butts around town.
Or spitting. That's even. Well, I don't know if it's worse. It's equally as disgusting.
Okay.
Keep it to yourself until I guess
well-
you're completely 100% sure no one is around you.
Yeah,
No one
exactly.
needs to see that.
Well, you got a lot of contractors here. I mean, this is
I
a
know.
big building area right
There's a
now.
lot of
Yeah.
associated behavior
Yep.
that goes along with all these contractors. Usually they're pretty good.
Do we know?
Occasionally.
Have you heard? What's the scuttlebutt on the coffee shop in the corner there? The new one that's going to open. I
Yeah,
thought that
that's a
was-
good question. Soon, I think. I
Yeah?
think they're expecting to be, well, I don't really know what their schedule is to open, but I think the project is expected to be complete very soon.
Now,
Within
what is that going to be?
couple
Libby?
months.
Is that
It's the Culinary Institute,
so
right?
it's going to be a cooking.
Cooking school with classes and demonstration projects open to the public, I think, and I think this coffee shop in the basement.
I heard the coffee shop's going to stay open till 10. That's the rumor.
10 at night?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Wow, that is.
Yeah. I like when Bookworks stays open late. You know, and that's really that's hard for a business downtown here to stay late like
It's
that.
wonderful.
But you know, financially, it's difficult.
Sure.
But I love that they do that.
Yes.
I think it's great.
And then this place. When is this place going to get done?
I don't know. That place is so huge. Every time I come down here,
Now that's
Federal,
an inn,
I think,
right?
my God, that thing's
that's going
enormous.
to be a fancy.
That's
inn?
my understanding. Another fancy inn. Yeah.
Okay. Good spot though.
Not that it's a bad thing. It's just different
Yeah.
and gigantic.
Yeah.
I don't see any
No walk-bys today.
potential
Okay.
walk-bys.
All right.
No, I don't think we know that guy.
All right. Well.
Do we know that guy getting in the car there? Oh, is
No.
that Joe Gay? No, we could have caught him, but I think that's him.
All right. I think that'll do it then.
There should be, you know,
Yeah.
it'd be a good fundraiser for somebody. You're not like gonna tape all this, are you?
Maybe. I
But
don't know.
okay, well, a good fundraiser would be like kind of a game showy thing, but show pictures of Islanders and have a little panel say who they are and like where they work and stuff and a little history about them. Clean history. See how many people you know.
That's a good
Kind
idea.
of fun. Like in a small place like this.
Sure.
Don't you feel
You know
like?
what else is? What I always think about. I always want to take people's pictures that look like someone else. that I know.
Yes, that's a really good idea too.
There's so many people that look
Yeah.
like someone, and it'd be funny to put them up. You know, just display them so people see.
Yeah, it would. And who even on the island, yeah, who like people who look like a celebrity, but also people who look like each other, but they're not at all related.
Exactly.